The human world has many difficult concepts that are unexplainable as book definitions or just require heaps and heaps of context. I mean, just with the mere concepts of babies, there are just so many explanations in the forms of books, movies, advertisements, or just any form of fiction that you can really think of. Fiction is just a type of lie we use to reach a simplified and straightforward answer to very complex ideas. Fiction is the light through which we tell the truth. Albert Camus. This is where George Orwell's 1984 and Shirley Jackson's The Lottery both play a pretty big role in the fictional worlds of storytelling. They mirror the particular lives and experiences of human paradoxes, connections, and traditional regimes. Following the events of Winston Smith as an oppressed man under oligarchical control, and Tessie Hutchinson's experience as a follower of nonsensical traditions, we begin to understand how various social constructs are manipulated in a way that makes our humanity uniform. This is where Orwell and Jackson intend to challenge the norms and expectations of our own restricted societies as they educate people like me and you about the unconscious corruptions of our world. Hence, both writers are pretty good at using the role of storytelling to express the lives of oligarchical and traditional regimes. I mean, even bumholes like me and you begin to re-evaluate the reasonings behind our own followings. Since we're all just little bums, that just means they're both super successful in using the role of storytelling to mirror the world of oligarchy and tradition. They showcase the unseen flaws and intersections of a so-called perfect divinity. We'll start off with Orwell as he reflects Camus' statement by representing Winston's paradoxical life as a lover and hater of Big Brother's oligarchical control. You can definitely see this in the lines, "He was one of the people around him. His secret loathing for Big Brother changed to adoration." The metaphor of Winston being one with the people showcases the uniformity and social pressures of the oligarchical collective, revealing how mindlessly following the majority becomes dehumanizing in the sense that it automates our emotional responses. This is then coupled with the paradox of his secret loathing turning into an adoration, exaggerating a comically contradictory tone to depict how spiteful emotions are able to create a sense of belonging. This is where Orwell's intention is to use fiction to expose the hypocrisy of human nature, as loathing becomes a superficial collectivity. Let's say, for example, Regina George from Mean Girls. Karen, Katie, and Gretchen don't all necessarily get along or anything, but having them all uniformly hate Regina, they are able to form a type of superficial bond. Winston is an iconoclast that objects to society's system, but due to his longing for collectivism, his oppressed hatred causes him to form a sense of bloodthirst. Evident in the lines, a hideous fear and vindictiveness, a desire to kill, to torture, to smash faces. He sounds like a complete psychopath, right? Well, this was actually on purpose, as it uses the stories of fictions to create a fearful relationship between Winston and us. We can see the effect of how the oppressive hatred of an individual is able to build up to an intense bloodthirst. Contextually, the scene is highly impactful in strengthening our understanding on how modern-day propaganda can be used to manipulate superficial emotions, similarly to the Nazis in World War II. This is because Orwell skillfully depicts how higher powers purposely instill fear and hatred to form stronger emotional bonds. We can tell that this was Orwell's train of thought as he previously states, "I tried, with full consciousness of what I was doing, to fuse political purpose and artistic purpose." Orwell be like, "Hitler's wrong, but look how pretty these words look together though." This kind of forces us to think deeply about how the oppressive lies are manipulated to form love and hate. The hatred of war becoming a disguise that hides behind the modern face of nationalism. Hence, the hypocritical lives of human love and hate is extensively represented throughout the text as we re-evaluate the emotional influences of propaganda. The 21st century society learns to appreciate the world of fiction as it can be applied to the experience of modern-day stand life. Now, we can see how the love and fan culture becomes a spiteful toxicity. You know those crazy K-pop stans that claim to die for their idols? Can't relate. Well, their love also causes them to wish for failure on other celebrities as it allows their idols to thrive even more. Their shared toxicity only then grows as they eat off each other like little snakes. But wait, there's more ways Orwell reflects Camus' statement. He does it again by using the oligarchical oppression of Winston to expose how lonely individuals over-rely on collectivity and sexual connections. This is evident in the lines, "I hate purity, I hate goodness, I want everyone to be corrupt to the bones." Using the language features of anaphora, Winston's experience as an iconoclast causes him to desperately yearn for a sense of belonging, highlighting the lives of isolated individuals to reveal how we feel connections from a common hatred. This goes hand in hand with the high modality exaggerating a belligerent tone to demonstrate the emotional vexations of social isolation, really hammering the idea on how humans instinctively desire social connectivities as a means of desperate survival. Orwell's intention is to use fictional storytellings to represent how our instinctual need for social connections are formed from the downfalls of others rather than genuinity. Y'all remember PewDiePie's Battle of T-Series? Well, PewDiePie actually gained a mass following after pointing out all the flaws and imperfections of the giant company. This hatred then became shared and created a newfound social collectivity for the interest of T-Series' downfall. Winston's yearning for shared experiences also leads him to rely on his instinctual desires for sexual connections. This is prominent in the lines, not merely the love of one person, but animal instinct, the simple, undifferentiated desire. Sounds kinda dirty and sexual, am I right? Well, Orwell actually does this on purpose as he uses the role of storytelling to create an empathetic relationship between Winston and us. We connect through a common libido. The sexual experience reveals how a craving for carnal connections allows us to act upon our own agencies as animals. Yeah, that's right, Orwell is belittling us. He knows us like the back of his goddamn hand. He sees your animal ass searching up crap without using no VPN, don't even hide it. He also knows darn well that it's not because you're horny. Secretly, it's because you're lonely and you long for social collectivity. Contextually, we can apply this to Nazi sexual propaganda as they manipulate the oppression of human desires to maintain hierarchical security. Here, sexuality becomes objectified for the sake of a control-free populace and unity. Orwell uses this to reveal how fitting inside perfect ideals become flawed in the sense that it suppresses our natural desires and dehumanizes our emotional connections. You know damn well that Orwell also does this on purpose because he says stuff like, when I sit down to write a book, I do not say to myself, I'm going to produce a work of art. I write because there is some sort of lie I want to expose. The lie being the love of Adolf Hitler. Therefore, the role of language is damn successful in exploring the desires for a collective and sexual connection. It forces us to reevaluate the repercussions of irrational and animalistic desires. The contemporary society applies this to present-day Chinese dictatorships as their negative sexual propaganda oppresses human desires to maintain oligarchical security. In the modern world, we learn to appreciate the freedom of collectivity and sexuality as it allows us to be human. See, aren't you glad you're not in China right now using like 13 different XVPNs at like 900 ms just to see a random cultured man make a waifu tier list on the various other things that are banned in your country? So, Orwell showcases the oppression and automated agencies under the lives of oligarchy, whilst Laurie Shelley Jackson shows automated oppression through the lives of traditionalists. Both authors are highly reflective of Camus' statement as they use fictional storytellings to mirror how automated agencies become an empty uniformity in society. You know, like in Divergent, where every single person has to fit inside these 6 specific categories, not even questioning or challenging any sort of authority? It's the same sort of thing. These empty agencies are evident in the lines, no one liked to upset even as much tradition as was represented by the black box, where the metonym of the box is a fictional representation that compares the following of the villages to the strict cultural regimes of today. Both parties following the teachings of the divine leaders without any active agency. 1984 also uses a powerful sort of divine leader, however it is the form of a strict dictator. Both these leaders are able to manipulate their followers under unnecessary and illogical regimes. Jackson then couples her metonym with the personification of tradition as an intimidating figure, representing how the rules of tradition are similar to an oligarchical collectivism, exaggerating an intimidating tone to showcase how people are controlled by fear. Both Jackson and Orwell's purpose is to use fiction to expose the real lives of oligarchical and traditionalist regimes as we reevaluate our own inactive followings. I mean, even I can personally relate to this. As an avid follower of the rapper PH1, I'd follow anything and everything he says. Luckily, I know he's a good person though. Well, according to Charlene Orwell, I only feel like I know, but still, I don't care. He is my gospel. This then causes the villagers to become mindless and unconscious in their agencies. Depicted in the lines, the villagers had forgotten the ritual and had lost the original black box. They still remember to use stones. Jackson over here is making us all feel connected by using the role of storytelling in the villagers' tradition. They lose the meaning behind their own agencies in the same way we mindlessly follow our own cultural regimes, successfully challenge the ideas of how tradition instills a sense of goodness rather than the realities of it actually automating our responses. This concept is kind of similar to Snowpiercer, where everyone at the start of the movie just follows the system automatically. It was what they were accustomed to for a long period of time, but their automatic agencies caused them to suffer years of lies and mistreatment. Contextually, the scene is highly significant to the strict traditional cultures of women in the 1940s, as they rigorously followed the social constructs of women in pink-collar jobs and housewifing. Our automated followings only create a sudden sense of routine, rather than any actual innovation. Hence, Jackson is highly successful in using storytelling to depict the oppressive side of traditional lies, forcing us to reevaluate the automated followings that strip us of our own thoughts and agencies. Today, we can apply this to the modern mass followings of Islam, as they are born to a religion against any conscious will. We learn to appreciate how automated religions and cultures prevail humanity from holding their own individuality, as it catalyzes the start of an unconscious collective. On a side note, you can be totally born into a religion and genuinely believe in it, but I seriously would like you guys to put a little bit more thought into why and what is it you believe in. The reason should not be that it is because this is what your family believes in. Let's just finish this off by saying that Orwell and Jackson's critical analysis on the human experiences of paradoxes, connections, and traditional regimes are highly successful in educating us about the oligarchical and traditional worlds. The role of storytelling is therefore extremely relevant for us today, as it allows for morals of the stories to be easily taught and shared. As we get older, fiction now becomes a lie through which we tell the truth, foretelling future misunderstandings and teaching us about the moral lessons that shape who we are today. Both writers' purpose is to use fictional stories in a way that explores the corrupt and unbearable truths of the real world. Small lies have always been used to teach young individuals as more understandable and coherent morals.